Over the past 10 years, the Destiny community has seen some absolutely wild things happen, and there's been tons of drama and scandals in the community. This video will shine a light on some of the darkest moments of Destiny's past and reveal how these events have shaped the game we know today. So from innocent people being wrongly banned to Bungie suing a YouTuber for millions of dollars, here's a retrospective look back at some of the most ridiculous things to ever happen in the history of this community. Jumping right in with the first topic, a large Destiny YouTuber by the name of Baken posted the following tweet in June 2021. Just got banned in D2 for the second time with no explanation. This is kinda ridiculous. I'd like people at Bungie to look into it. There's no way I get banned when I see mad cheaters play for months. Baken was known for posting crazy PvP montages and quite impressive clips on his YouTube channel dating all the way back to Destiny 1, so people were surprised to see him suddenly banned like this. He was clearly a good player, and nobody really suspected him of being a cheater. Especially since he posted literally hundreds of impressive clips on YouTube with no signs of foul play, everyone just regarded him as one of the best players in the game. In response to the original tweet, community manager DMG replied, "Bans are not issued without reason. Team has validated this action multiple times thanks to anti-cheat detection and investigation." Baken immediately denied these allegations of cheating and pressured DMG for more information, stating that he'd like to see proof of what he was doing that resulted in the ban. This seemed like a bit of an unreasonable request, given that Bungie had clearly already double-checked the reason for the ban, but being the legendary community manager that he was, DMG came back again to reply once more. This time, he did not hold back with his statement. He said, "Took some time to triple-check this with the security team. We have detected 2 accounts under your ownership using cheat suites while playing Destiny 2, and have banned 4 accounts total, includes ban evasion. This is our final communication on this matter." This absolutely annihilated Baken's career, and the fact that he had 4 separate accounts completely erased any doubt that anyone might have had. This ban did start to raise a lot of questions and concerns about people who had played with Baken, since Bungie also bans people who play alongside cheaters. Many content creators and other skilled players in the community had played with Baken in the past, so some of them were concerned about potentially being banned for their association with him. I don't think anyone else was banned in this case, but this is an important thing to remember. If one of your teammates suddenly becomes an amazing player when the stakes are high, it might be time to distance yourself from them for a bit. There haven't been many recent updates on Baken, but in 2022 he did post his most recent video called Trespassing on Momentum Property. In this video, he ironically uses the Trespasser exotic while trespassing in the game that he isn't allowed to play, and in the description he claims that this is his 68th account, although that could be an exaggeration. One of the other crazy things we've seen was a Destiny 2 player who got permabanned and sued for $500,000 because he sent a pizza to Bungie. More specifically, he ordered a Domino's pizza to be sent directly to the house of former community manager DMG. He intentionally requested the pizza to have an extremely foul selection of toppings to make it completely inedible, and then he selected the option to pay on delivery. This was done with malicious intent to increase the chances of a confrontation, because of course the delivery driver would attempt to collect payment when he delivered the pizza. Additionally, he informed the delivery driver that he would be wearing headphones, and therefore he should knock at least 5 times loudly to make the intrusion even more alarming. This individual also repeatedly harassed and sent horrific messages to the former community manager, and based on these events, Bungie filed a lawsuit. According to the documentation, he demonstrated all of the hallmarks of an attacker of high concern. This guy's harassment was obviously unacceptable, but somehow he actually thought that this scumbag behavior was funny and not a big deal. In a Discord message with a friend, he appeared to be boasting about how he was banned from Destiny and how they traced the pizza delivery back to him. He never showed up to court, and therefore the default judgment was granted, and he is now liable for the $500,000 of damages caused by his detestable behavior. Next up is a rather suspicious in-game scandal where a design choice intentionally scammed dedicated players out of their time and investment in the game. This took place in 2017, and you have to remember that back in this era, there was almost no endgame at all. You could even say that the lack of an endgame was a scandal in itself because of how upset people were. Anyway, in 2017, the game mostly involved grinding monotonous public events for exotics, and once you got all the exotics and static roll weapons, there was zero additional loot incentive or endgame of any kind. The only thing that was actually kind of rare was the cosmetic loot from Eververse, and these cosmetics were earned through bright engrams. These engrams could be purchased with real money or earned through grinding experience within the game, which was pretty standard monetization for many games at the time. The system seemed fair enough, but after some investigation, a few players noticed the XP numbers on the game weren't actually lining up with the actual amount of XP they were getting. The numbers and graphics like the XP progress bar were not adding up, and the game was straight up lying about experience gains. After a lot of testing and some very extensive posts on the matter, it became clear that the more you played the game, the less experience you would actually earn. Therefore, this also meant that the more you played, the fewer bright engrams you would earn, and the more you would be tempted to just buy them with real money instead. This was happening immediately after similar controversies in other games like Star Wars Battlefront 2, so people were already sick and tired of these shady monetization practices. On top of all of that, Bungie had just revealed the extremely lackluster Curse of Osiris expansion in a livestream, so it would be an understatement to say that the community was pissed. Bungie responded to the outrage, removing the XP throttling system and saying that they were, quote, not happy with the results. They didn't explicitly blame it on a bug, so everyone continued with the assumption that this was a deliberate, scummy move to extract more money from the community. To make matters worse, the amount of experience needed to earn an engram was also secretly doubled to account for this change. Of course, this drastically reduced the amount of bright engrams players could earn, and again encouraged more players to spend money instead of earning the cosmetics within the game. This stealth change was also discovered by players and was not announced by Bungie, adding yet another reason for players to be upset and disappointed. To this day, people still consider this whole debacle to be extremely shady and disingenuous, and for many, it sums up the negative feelings around this dark era in Destiny's past. Our next scandal began when Bungie publicly declared that a recent community summit had been compromised and that information was leaked. Summits involve people from the community and they are meant to give feedback on the future of the game. Obviously, these summits are strictly confidential, and attendees are required to sign non-disclosure agreements and promise to never speak about anything that they see at the event. Based on all that, you can understand why it was a big deal that there was a leak. Within their tweets, Bungie also emphasized that the security of these summits was important, stating, breaches of this trust could result in our inability to hold more summits. We take these breaches extremely seriously and are taking actions to reinforce our policies with those invited to these internal meetings. The next day, a Forbes article revealed that a popular streamer known as EK was being accused as the leaker, and that he was being banned from Destiny 2. However, he vehemently denied all wrongdoing, saying, all I know is that company made a huge mistake and I will clear my name. For those unaware, EK has over 14,000 hours of gameplay in Destiny and is well known for carrying people through Grandmaster Nightfalls on his stream. This allegation of him being the leaker had the whole community freaking out because some believed it was him, but also it didn't really make any logical sense. Like, why would he risk his entire career in content creation just to leak a couple pictures of upcoming Destiny content? Some community members were also questioning the evidence because the only public link between him and the leak was that some of the icons on his desktop were similar to the leaked screenshots. There were many people arguing both sides of the situation, and everyone was just waiting to see what would happen next. For a while, no more information was revealed, and everyone just continued with speculation. After a couple days of reviewing the situation though, the Destiny 2 team account put the issue to rest with the following statement. Our security and legal teams have reviewed irrefutable evidence, including video recordings, verified messages, and images demonstrating a pattern over time that confirm the same individual shared confidential information from community summits spanning multiple years. The part that surprised me the most was that it had actually been taking place over multiple years. Like, not only did he risk his career by leaking the most recent information, but he literally did the same thing consistently after being invited to several events. The individual in question has remained banned from Destiny, and he has continued streaming other games with varying degrees of success. The Destiny 2 new player experience is not the greatest, and this only became worse when a new product called the Destiny Starter Pack was added to the store. The starter pack included some random old exotics and a few materials, and this would be fine if it was free. But instead, it was just another way to extract money from the player base because it cost a ridiculous $15. This was a borderline scam due to the quality and amount of items it provided, and you could make the argument that it was even predatory because it specifically targeted new players who didn't know any better. A real Destiny starter pack would be amazing if it actually did what it claimed to do, but this stuff was almost worthless and it certainly did not provide new players with $15 worth of value to their account. The community at the time was already super fed up with the state of the game, the layoff news, and the overall pricing model, so this move came off as incredibly tone-deaf and obnoxious. After getting absolutely roasted by the community and in a particularly scathing video from Datto, they decided to permanently delete this so-called starter pack from the game. Something that has been an area of concern in Destiny ever since the early days is this recurring theme of content being rebooted. Destiny 1 was famously rebooted just before launch, meaning that they had a complete story, but then it was just deleted and they started over completely. This happened again with both of the early expansions of Destiny 1 and even with Destiny 2 itself. Destiny was in development with unknown leadership for a while, but then in 2016 it was rebooted and Luke Smith stepped in to lead a new version of the game. Many players blame Bungie's leadership and these reboots, believing that they were the root cause for the rushed and seemingly underdeveloped releases that we've had over the years. I'm not even sure if every reboot is publicly known about, but there have been quite a few of them since the first one occurred in 2013. One morning, a bunch of highly skilled players woke up and found that they were mysteriously banned from Destiny 2. They started posting screenshots of their ban on social media, but you have to understand this isn't really something that is too uncommon. As you've seen with another case in this video, there are many people who will claim their innocence even when they know that they've cheated or otherwise deserve a ban. I'm pretty sure that Bungie also had this reaction, as they tweeted out, "Earlier this week, we issued a small number of bans for cheating. If you are unsure why your account may have been banned, please review our guidelines here," and provided a link to their website. This unfortunately seemed to only further upset the people involved, as no reason was provided for their ban. A growing number of people were beginning to notice that they were indeed also banned from the game, and all of them were claiming to be innocent. For some reason, speedrunners in particular were the people getting banned here, and it did seem unusual that so many of them were banned all at once. The argument was, do you really think a bunch of top players all got together and decided to start cheating at the exact same time? It seemed unlikely. After a few days of being banned, the speedrunners all tweeted out messages stating that they had been unbanned, saying things like, "Still don't know why I was banned in the first place." Something must have gone wrong with the anti-cheat that accidentally flagged their accounts for banning. But this isn't the only time that someone got accidentally banned for no reason. Dre, the creator of the popular D2 Gunsmith website, was also banned one day out of the blue. He was understandably quite upset by this and also with the game in general, and he decided to uninstall the game and stop working on the website completely. A while later, he followed up by saying, "Got unbanned, still uninstalled, probably staying that way for a while. No, I never ended up sending an appeal and I'm done working on the site." This was sad for a lot of players to hear, as his website was pretty awesome and clearly he just got caught by mistake. Bungie admitted that this was indeed the case, stating human error on a new cheat detection caused some incorrect bans to occur this week. Almost exactly a year later, a very similar thing happened where Bungie accidentally banned tons of people, and then there were headlines like, "Bungie is giving Destiny 2 players $45 of in-game currency to say sorry for accidentally banning them from the game." Although the anti-cheat is accurate probably 99.9% of the time, it still sucks to see examples of stuff like this where innocent people are impacted and, in the case of Dre, even retire from playing the game and making one of the game's greatest websites. It seems that this retirement was permanent, as his profile today now reads, "Done and dusted, out of this world." One of the most disliked and hotly debated things to ever happen within the game itself was the sunsetting and weapon retirement system that would periodically make your loot unusable. What made this system extra annoying was that the exact same sunset loot would be sold back to us in the expansions. After a while of doing this, Bungie decided to stop sunsetting weapons, but the old weapons remained unable to be infused up to the maximum power level. It stayed this way for years, and Bungie even straight up said that the old loot would never be usable again. In order to free up space, many people proceeded to delete these old items, especially when going through to clean their vaults. Based on all of that, it came as quite a surprise when Bungie announced that they would actually be completely undoing this entire system and sunrising all of the old weapons to max power level. This was really upsetting for some people because they deleted all of their weapons thinking they would never be useful again, and then Bungie decided to undo all of that and make all weapons relevant once more. All I'm gonna say is I'm glad I never fell victim to a vault cleaning, and I now have over 100 unsunset weapons like this Duke MK44 that I can now use once again. There have been a few instances where developers have banned YouTubers from the game. But when Bungie decides to sue a YouTuber for $7.6 million, you know that they must have really messed up. This story begins when a total of 96 Destiny YouTube videos were forcibly deleted for copyright reasons, seemingly by a representative of Bungie. The copyright strikes said that they were executed by CSC, a company that works on Bungie to manage their intellectual property. Many of the big Destiny content creators at the time received notices that several of their videos were deleted due to copyright infringement, and let me tell you, this is one of the scariest things that can ever happen to you as a content creator. If your channel gets 3 strikes for this type of thing, it gets permanently deleted. Creators were understandably furious, thinking that Bungie had betrayed them and just decided to delete all Destiny creators from the face of the earth. Nobody knew this at the time, but Bungie themselves also were impacted by the copyright claims. Some of their own videos about their own game were also taken offline. Obviously, this made no sense whatsoever, and it became clear that it must be a malicious third party that was initiating the copyright takedowns. Someone outside of Bungie and outside of their partner company was creating false copyright claims to sabotage both Bungie and all of the other YouTubers. Bungie started investigating the issue immediately as they were impacted by the takedowns, but they were met with a lot of resistance from YouTube. Despite being a billion-dollar company, they had an extremely difficult time getting a hold of anyone at YouTube who could help, and the customer service experience was unable to address the issue. YouTube also refused to give up the identity of the person who was responsible for this, and Bungie literally had to take them to court in order to reveal who the individual was. As the court case revealed, the person doing all of the fake copyright takedowns was a Destiny YouTuber who went by the name of Lord Nazo. This guy had a personal grudge against Bungie because he was basically ripping all of the music from Destiny and reposting it to YouTube in a way that violated Bungie's policies. After repeated warnings, his channel got deleted for violating Bungie's copyright. I guess this really pissed him off because that's when he decided to impersonate the company called CSC and proceed to unleash the 96 copyright takedowns on the entire Destiny community. While actively doing this, he was just playing along like he had no idea what was happening. He was talking with people in the community and acting like he was on our side while literally stabbing us in the back at the exact same time. Luckily, the copyright strikes were able to be addressed and removed before anyone's channel got deleted or anything, but this situation still threatened the livelihoods of creators. Revenue from this time also couldn't be magically reimbursed or restored, so certain creators lost quite a bit of money during this time. I wasn't personally impacted, but some of my friends had put out big videos at the time and invested a lot of money into making those videos, but then they lost money overall because those videos were sabotaged by the false copyright attacks. Once the identity of Lord Nazo became known 3 months after the fact, Bungie decided to take legal action against him for the damage he inflicted on the community and Bungie itself. Apparently, the damages included $150,000 for each video impacted, totaling $7,650,000 plus legal fees. In the end, though, it's pretty clear that everybody loses in this story. Like, yes, this guy made his point about the YouTube copyright system being easily exploited, but at what cost? Destiny creators and Bungie employees all lost sleep and revenue, and by committing these crimes, Lord Nazo is now facing a life-changing lawsuit that he is very unlikely to win. For those of you who might not be aware, there is a gaming team by the name of Gamers First, or G1 for short, and they've been heavily involved in the Destiny space. Ironically though, they've been doing the exact opposite of putting gamers first, and in fact, they're actually putting gamers last. This team has been an absolute disaster from the very beginning, and although I can't reveal all of my sources for privacy reasons, there's been a bunch of scummy practices here that aren't widely known about in the community. This all started back in the day when a different team called Soar Gaming had a Destiny roster. One day, all of the Destiny players decided to leave Soar to create their new team called G1. In the process though, the owners of G1 decided to exclude some of the players from the new team. So they essentially just baited all of the Destiny people into leaving Soar and then said, oh, sorry, actually never mind, only some of you are invited to our new team. They also screwed over the editors by doing the same thing. Unfortunately though, it only got worse from there. G1 proceeded to hire professional teams in Destiny and a variety of other games, and also hire staff and acquire companies like Evolve PCs. They took on a ridiculous amount of overhead expenses that they were probably not able to afford. Through my internal sources who work in the industry, I've heard that they allegedly owe hundreds of thousands of dollars to tons of people across many different games and multiple positions. They allegedly aren't even paying rent on their extremely expensive facility that they acquired in Texas. Many people have gone unpaid dating back over a year, and recently Destiny streamer Grenader Jake announced that he's filing a lawsuit against G1 for refusing to pay back the $100,000 that he is owed. 3 additional people replied to that announcement and said that they also are owed various amounts of money. This whole situation is just an absolute train wreck, and overall there has been tons of drama about the team's operations and dealings with the Destiny community. Although the lawsuit is still pending and no verdict has been reached, the sheer number of people who've had issues with getting paid is alarming. One of the darkest and most controversial times in Destiny history came during 2017, when Destiny 2 launched in a very underwhelming state. It felt like the game basically just launched as Destiny 1.5, as a lot of the best systems in the game got simplified and dumbed down for seemingly no reason. We went from these big customizable subclasses to these 2 tiny restrictive trees. We went from having fast and powerful characters to slow and boring gameplay with no special weapons and weak abilities. Random roles got removed, private matches got removed, strike-specific loot got removed, and as we mentioned earlier in the video, the endgame was basically non-existent. This overall poor launch of the game was really big news at the time. People were terrified that this could be the end of the franchise, and players were leaving the game in droves. Many content creators even announced their departure, going to focus on Fortnite or other games that were coming up at the time. Most players were simply bored by the lack of innovation and the lack of an endgame, and the following statement really sums up how many people felt at the time.
Brand new game, not even a month old, at least while I'm recording this video, and I feel like I don't have much left to do.
Especially when the Bungie stream came out for the Curse of Osiris expansion, we learned that nothing was really going to change except we'd now get 2 tokens and a blue from the monotonous public event grind. All of these things combined just led to an extremely tumultuous time in the community where nobody was really happy. It seemed like every day there was a new video titled something like, "Here's why Destiny 2 sucks," and there was really no hope in sight. Luckily, the Forsaken expansion revived the game a year later, but this 2017 era will be remembered for all of its negativity and controversy, and it goes down as perhaps the worst period in the history of the franchise. Even when Forsaken did revive the game though, there was still plenty of drama surrounding it. This time it came from Activision, the company that was publishing Destiny at this time. They came out and stated that they actually were dissatisfied with the performance of Forsaken, despite it literally saving the game and bringing millions of players back. Apparently that wasn't enough though, and Activision still considered the game to be underperforming and not meeting sales projections. However, Luke Smith did clap back as he said, "We are not disappointed with Forsaken. We set out to build a game that Destiny players would love, and at Bungie, we love it too." Following this perceived underperformance of Forsaken though, microtransactions in the game were increased. It's hard to say if it's just a coincidence, but many players believe this was specifically done to extract more money from existing players due to Forsaken falling short on revenue expectations. The Eververse store was expanded at this time, and over the next few years, it continued to balloon to unimaginable levels. It all came to a peak in 2023, by which time the game had such an overabundance of microtransactions that the community was really getting tired of it. Aztecross posted his now infamous video roasting the situation, demonstrating how the game had devolved over time. There was originally no Eververse or real money currency at all, but then they slowly started adding more and more emotes, shaders, vehicles, finishers, event cards, dungeon keys, season passes, pay-to-win systems, and it all just got out of hand. Especially with the total cost of the game and all of its expansions being prohibitively expensive for new players, this was, and mostly still is, a major point of frustration for the community. Somewhat more recently, the extremely unfortunate mass layoffs were also a topic of concern in the community. In October 2023, Bungie laid off about 8% of their workforce due to their revenue being 45% lower than projected. This was a great loss for Bungie and the community, and key people from the studio were let go. For example, we lost the famed composer Michael Salvatore, who worked on basically all of the music for the Destiny and Halo series. Even though some of the events covered in this video were rather tragic, I hope you still enjoyed this coverage of some of the craziest things we've seen over the last 10 years. Next up, there is a certain piece of blue armor you should never delete, so to find out more, go watch this video covering the unwritten rules of Destiny 2. And as always, thank you for watching.